going back to the 2021 draft, the Jamar Chase draft, the Penei Sewell draft, here's a conversation that I'm tired of hearing about. I'm tired of Lions fans and some people sticking this doesn't relate to you. This has nothing to do with you. After last night, you see what Micah Parsons, see how he walks off the field. He walks off before the game is over with. He's
crashing out.
100%. And once again, he throws players under the bus. This has been an interesting season for Micah Parsons, and maybe even diving into a little bit of last season. But the conversation was always, should the Lions have gotten Micah Parsons or should they have taken Penei Sewell? I don't mind the people that said Penei Sewell back then. One of them is sitting to my left. It's Stick.
Hello.
We have the sound. We have everything.
You
Stick
can go back,
always
draft
was
party
dialed
3 years ago. You can watch it. I just showed it to KG.
He was dialed in.
Got receipts.
He was dialed in to the fact that it was AI.
My team had to edit it.
No, but he was down with the pick. He saw what it was. He wanted to make the strength stronger. You already had Frank Ragnow. You had Taylor Decker. You bring in Penei Sewell, make him a right tackle. Now you really have something going for the Lions. Kudos to you. But you are in the minority. And when I say minority, it may even be over 90%. When Micah Parsons went to the Dallas Cowboys, everybody here in Detroit, including myself, Micah Parsons was the move. Then his rookie year, he finishes number 2 in Defensive Player of the Year. Now, all of a sudden, you see how things have unfolded in Dallas. Because Dallas is a bleep show, and it always has been. Even when they were winning Super Bowls, Dallas was a bleep show. But now you see what it's come to. He leaves the field. Last year he was hurt. And now everybody's like, oh, yeah, see, this is why we got Penei Sewell instead of Micah Parsons. One individual that I love to death is Neil Rule. And Neil said something. I usually don't argue with Neil because you won't win to argue with Neil. Battle. Neil has all the knowledge, all the facts.
It's
and
exhausting.
Then he'll switch the facts on you. I learned my lesson when we first got to the network. I said, Neil's good at this. I'm gonna step back.
Yep, he's a tactician. He is. You gotta know. You gotta have your points set before you face Neil.
But when you see how he walks off the field and you jump in the chat and say, and some people wanted Micah Parsons over Penei Sewell, 91% of us did, including you. Go back. 91% of us wanted Micah Parsons, especially after the first 3 years, realistically, especially 2. So these people that want to go back in time and say, this is what I said, no, you didn't. It's okay to just roll with the punches, and the punches have you in a great seat. You're 12-1. Penei Sewell looks amazing. He's much better at this point than Micah Parsons is in his career. But don't act like you weren't in that majority back in 2021. I hate those people that forget the past. So stop forgetting the past and just rock with the future.
Yeah, a lot of people were a prisoner of the moment. And listen, I just went back and watched that draft, and you lose some of the nuance of what the team was 3 years ago. And part of it was me saying, I know we just came off having a historically bad defense. Yeah. And everybody knew you had to address that side of the ball.
You needed a player. That was the consensus, if you will.
And Micah Parsons is a player. He's a potential gold jacket player. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Fame player. This is not a knock on him. But at that time, it was just like you said, I'm a big fan of making your strength stronger before you try to piecemeal together a defense off of one guy, right? And we've seen
start somewhere.
And we've seen that wasn't where they wanted to start, right? They wanted to start by getting an identity on the offensive line, improving that, we have the number one something instead of, okay, the offensive line is going to be top 10, defense will try to be top 15 with Parsons. Now we're in the middle of the road with both. That doesn't create a winner. That doesn't create a culture. So I'm so glad they did what they did, but I also understand Parsons was a generational talent.
Also, too, not even so much as Parsons. Parsons now is becoming generational talent, if you will, but it was also the Penei Sewells. It was the question marks. The question, how old was Penei Sewell at the time? He was 19.
Right.
19 and set out his junior year.
Right.
So then he gets drafted at 20 with only a year and a half of football experience and at the collegiate level. And then you draft him during COVID. Then also your offensive line. You're drafting a left tackle to make him a right tackle. You already have a good left tackle.
Yep.
You already have a tackle in Taylor Decker, who's still here. Shout out to Taylor Decker. So it was just like with all of these things, you're going to pass up on Micah Parsons. I think that was once again, the consensus, and it was rightful at the time. Now, okay, I was wrong.
But it just shows the brilliance of Brad Holmes and what they wanted to establish and the identity that they needed. Like, we can have one dog over there, or we can have 5 dogs up front. And I'm glad they picked the 5 dogs up front. And you've seen they've been able to build around that, because don't forget, the second, third round draft picks, he addressed the defense as well during that draft. And he got Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round of that draft. And that's another great point of that draft, too, is when you're watching, because people wanted the Lions to get a wide receiver.
Yeah, they did.
I remember watching the War Room. In the second round. And I remember watching the War Room, and I distinctly remember Brad Holmes saying, our guy's going to be there. I didn't know what the hell that meant. I didn't know who their guy was. I didn't know when they meant it was going to be there. But come to find out, their guy was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he was there in the fourth round.
Amazing.
So they knew who was going off the board, just like Amon-Ra remembers who was going off the board.
Yeah, this is true.
They knew all those guys that had talent, but they were like, no, our guy's there. And to me, what sold him on Amon-Ra St. Brown is his blocking. You go back and watch some of those USC.
We talked about that. Tim Patrick, we talked about that.
You go watch some of those USC footage with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is driving people 20 yards into the stand.
That's because
like
of his
Michael
father.
Orr blindside blocks. It's crazy.
Maz, just getting back to that, and then we can come back to the Lions side of things. The other conversation is you see who Micah Parsons is. You see him on the field. You see how he walked off the field with classless, if people would say. You see him with the podcast. A lot of people forget the culture is amazing here. The culture isn't good in Dallas. The culture never has been good in Dallas. Do you think that if we would have brought Micah Parsons here, who should have we drafted, if he was brought here, he would have been a different player because of Dan Campbell and because of the culture?
Not a question.
Yeah.
Not a question. This is the best staff in football, bar none. People on other teams are going to be looking at the Lions on how to build their team going forward. Giants are going to tear their team down here a little bit. Jets already started tearing their team down. But the Giants are going to be ground zero here for the draft once they get the number 1 draft pick. Fighting it off with the Raiders right now, but it'll be 1 or 2. They're going to look at this Lions and how this team was built. Brad Holmes. Don't forget, Dan Campbell was hired before Brad Holmes. That usually doesn't work.
Amazing.
That usually doesn't work. So whoever was helping Sheila devised this plan did a master class in doing it. And Brad Holmes has been waiting for this opportunity his whole life, and he has made the most of it. He has hit blackjack on every single draft that he has done. Even these guys he's picking off out of practice squads. Every one of them is playing like, hey, I should have been drafted. Yeah. This Muhammad, he's amazing.
Got a motor, baby.
He's amazing.
But you go back and look at that 2021 draft, and like I said, they were worried about not addressing defense. Second round pick, number 41, Levi Onwuzurike.
Yep.
He's done all right.
If he didn't have all those injuries, he would have been an absolute terror.
Third round, Aleem McNeil. Pick number 72.
Bam.
Turned out okay.
Bam.
Maxed him out this year.
If he's giving you quality snaps, not this year, but last year you saw quality snaps.
But they maxed him out, and he deserved it, to your point.
Then you get back-to-back picks. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Derek Barnes, who, once again, barring injury, Derek Barnes sealed the first ever playoff victory against Tampa Bay.
He was going to be the defensive captain this year before he got hurt.
So, I mean, for everybody that was worried that they didn't get Parsons there, would you rather have Derek Barnes or Parsons?
Parsons.
Come on.
But listen, would you rather have Derek Barnes, Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil? Like, that's what you're doing with. Because if you go Parsons first round, then you're addressing the offense later, right?
Maybe, yeah.
So you're kind of giving up some of those guys. You're not going to draft all defense, are you?
No.
Well, Braylon asked if he'd be a different player if he had come to the Lions. I think he would have been the terror he is now today, except with a better attitude. And listen, there are other players that have podcasts. Look at the St. Brown brothers. They have a fun time with their podcast.
Yeah, but they never throw teammates under the bus.
That's what I'm saying. They have a fun time with their podcast.
Yeah.
Micah,
they do throw J-Mo under the bus for not coming on.
He went the other way. Micah Parsons went the other way with his podcast, and he pissed off a lot of his teammates. There's not a question about it.
Speaking of throwing people under the bus, look, and I know we want to get to the Lions. We know you guys want to dive into the Lions. Look, it's a major week. They're playing the second best team in the AFC, and the Bills, they come in at 10-3. It's going to be a major week. We're going to get to that. But you talk about throwing teams under the bus. Who is Detroit right now? I know you're going to say no one, but who is Detroit somewhat looking over their shoulders for right now currently?
I think the Bills are always in that conversation.
NFC.
Not the Eagles.
NFC?
The Eagles.
It's the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles have to be the conversation, but I don't. If you ask the Lions, I don't think they're going to say that.
The conversation wasn't about if you feel that. It's who's behind them. It's the Eagles. You see what's going on in Philly?
Mm-hmm.
You see what's going on with Philly? From A.J. Brown making a conversation about passing. And then you see Brandon Graham, shout out to University of Michigan, go Blue.
Yep.
See Brandon Graham come on and say, look, their relationship isn't the same. We understand that. Sound. I know. It's one of those situations where you appreciate the locker room that you have. You got a team that's right on your heels. They're clicking at 11-2. And they got beef in the locker room for no reason.
How much do you think that affects them going down the stretch?
Well,
do you think they're professional enough to get over the personal stuff, or does that come out on the field?
You know what?
Last year it came out.
I want to say for the conversation, but I think it hurts. Like it hurts. Yeah. Like there's no like you're winning right now, and you're talking about the passing game.
Yeah.
Like you're winning, and you're talking about the passing game. They
just won their 9th straight game,
and you're talking about passing.
Individuals.
Yeah. It'd be different if he was Jamar Chase. Right. And the only reason why I say it'd be different is because what hasn't happened for Jamar Chase yet, even though he's about to win the Triple Crown. Jamar Chase hasn't got paid.
That's a fact, yeah.
A.J. Brown not only got bought over, he got paid. And then guess what happened before the season started? He got paid again. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think the problem is. No, what are you? One, you're winning, and two, you got paid. Shut up. Get into the Lions' major game.